The war between Russia and Ukraine has entered its second year, and there is no end in sight, with the threat of a nuclear war looming in the background. In a major development, Russian forces initiated military exercises near Ukraine, simulating the use of tactical nuclear weapons on Tuesday. This comes in the backdrop of Russia making advances deeper into the Ukrainian territory, implying the desire for a decisive end to the war soon. Now, what is a nuclear tactical weapon? And when you talk about tactical weapons, what are the issues? So, tactical nuclear weapons are non-strategic nuclear weapons. And I use the word non-strategic. They are less powerful than these strategic nuclear weapons, which are intercontinental ballistic missiles. They are designed for use on the battlefield for a limited strike. And they can be used in an aerial bomb, warheads for short-range missiles, or artillery ammunition, which means that they are versatile. They can be handed over to the tactical units. And a tactical nuke has a yield of 1 kiloton, which means that it has a limited actionability, but it destroys that area permanently. It's more compact, can be discreetly transported via trucks or planes, which means it can be taken inside cities. It can be taken inside industrial sectors. It is intended to devastate enemy targets in specific areas without a massive radioactive fallout. So it means that you don't end up creating a Chernobyl. Now, when we talk about tactical nuclear weapons and the military, it also means that it is a signal to the opposing party that they will be used, they will be deployed. So this is a signal that Russia is given. Vladimir Putin has ordered these drills earlier this month, with Russian officials stating that this is a move that serves as a warning to the West not to escalate tension further, which means that they are telling them that if you provide more fuel to the Ukrainians, more weapons to the Ukrainians, if the war escalates, then in the escalatory ladder, tactical nuclear weapons are an option. The Kremlin is particularly angered by French President Emmanuel Macron, who suggested the possibility of sending European troops to fight Russia in Ukraine, and by comments from UK Foreign Secretary David Cameron, who asserted that Ukraine had the right to use weapons supplied by London to target sites in Russia. And let me tell you, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars have been supplied by London and Washington to the Ukrainian government. Now, this covertly advanced money and missile to the Ukrainians is the bone of contention. And Russia, on the other hand, is deploying Iskander and Kinzhal, which are short-range ballistic missiles. Iskander was designed for precision strike against a variety of enemy targets, and they are very fast missiles. It is ground-launched with mobile launchers that can operate from different locations. So the whole weaponry is that you travel so fast that it becomes difficult to intercept. It has a low flight maneuverability, 500 kilometers, very fast. Basic systems like Patriot cannot intercept them. That is why Russia is at forefront of developing hypersonic missiles that can actually crash the entire NORAD, which is the basic defense system used by the Americans. And it's primarily aimed at the Americans in West Europe. It's carried by aircraft like MiG-31 and intended for precision strikes. Targets include naval and ground bases like ships and submarines. It has an extended range of around 2,000 kilometers and can reach high speeds in its air-launched phase. And these are the new elements in the Russian weaponry. These are not old. These are the new weapons. So the footage is showing trucks transporting missiles to a field with prepared launch systems and troops at an airfield readying a bomber to carry a nuclear warhead. It is unprecedented When you deploy tactical nuclear weapon, you are telling them that you want to use it. It's an intention. And the strategic aim of the Russian is to end the war fast. Russians know that they cannot allow Ukraine to turn into another Afghanistan. Afghanistan, Russia, or the USSR lost its reputation, led to the collapse of USSR. And on this issue, I am joined by General Shaukin Chauhan. I don't need to give a long introduction to the gentleman because he is someone who has understanding not only in context of the tactical nuclear weapons, but he was part and parcel of a unique exercise which took place some years ago in Russia. Sir, how serious is this deployment?
Karthik, good evening to you. Thank you for calling me for your show. The Russian-Ukraine war has taken a very interesting turn from something that seemed unendable. The Russians suddenly moved, turned their offenses and moved actually from a different direction and started moving towards Kyiv from a different direction. And now they've demonstrated that they are willing to use tactical nuclear weapons. It's a very serious situation. I don't think that this particular action of using drills for tactical nuclear weapons has ever been done before. So I think the world, especially NATO and the NATO armies, should take this very seriously and decide for themselves what exactly and how exactly do they want to fight this war, and how exactly do they want to end this war.
General,
Ukraine,
you have sorry, I'm cutting you here, but you have strategic aims, you have tactical aims. What is the strategic aim? Is it to prevent the war? Is it to tell Washington and London not to supply weapons to Ukraine? Or is it to demonstrate that Russia may use it if you prolong the war?
I think it is a combination of all the issues that you've said. They are demonstrating to NATO that they are serious and they will not allow any further interference into Ukraine. The second thing they're demonstrating to NATO is that you have done enough. Now it's time you withdrew, because otherwise Ukraine has very little chance of taking this further. And the third issue, when anyone starts the process of, starting the drills of tactical nuclear weapons, is that these can be used on the battlefield without further escalation. Ukraine cannot escalate using tactical nuclear weapons because they don't have any. NATO cannot use its massive strike on Russia because it's not a strike on any NATO country. So this is a very interesting move by Putin, an extremely interesting move by Putin. And we'd like to actually see how NATO can get over this particular issue. Can they call the Russian bluff if it is a bluff at all? What happens if Russians actually use a tactical nuclear weapon which has never been used in the battlefield? And after they use it, what will be the possible reaction? Only time can tell, but it is an extremely dangerous phase of this particular war. Extremely dangerous.
Okay. Uh, Let me just put out the release. According to the ministry's statement, Russia, the first stage of the new drills envisioned practical training in the preparation and use of non-strategic nuclear weapons, including nuclear-capable Kinzhal and Iskander missiles. Some nuclear analysts believe that these exercises are intended as a warning signal from Russia's President Vladimir Putin to deter Ukraine's Western allies who have supplied weapons and intelligence to Kyiv from becoming more deeply involved in the conflict. General Chauhan, releasing the weapon from the central command at the division level itself is a huge exercise. You don't do that. It means that you are
Absolutely.
enabling commanders at the operational side and training them, retraining their reflexes to use a bomb. You know, you
Absolutely.
once told me in a private conversation, I must confess this, that a similar exercise took place in Russia. When you do an exercise in actual war front, what are you saying? What are you actually doing in context of organization?
Kartik, I remember speaking to you about this. And I also remember telling you that some of their motorized divisions or motorized brigades carry tactical nuclear weapons with them. The fact that they have allowed the movement of these tactical nuclear weapons to be carried by the motorized brigades and motorized divisions means they are signaling to NATO, thus far and no further. The issue is, Karthik, not not deciding to use them, but once they use them, how does the world react to Russia's use of a tactical nuclear weapon in war? You know, this is something I must take it now to the Indo-Pak situation. The Pakistanis have often said that if the Indian strike forces, of which I, as you know, I used to be the commander of the strike corps of India, were to cross a particular red line that the Pakistanis had set in sand, they would use tactical nuclear weapons. So extremely interesting to see what might actually happen. Because is it a, a bluff? Is it not a bluff? And if it's not a bluff, how would these tactical nuclear weapons affect the battlefield?
So how do
And
they
how
affect?
does it?
Yeah, in fact, I would like you to tell the viewers how do these tactical nuclear weapons uh, impact the battlefield in context of range, deployment. What do they do actually? Because ultimately, it's a nuclear weapon, whatever the strength of it, with a nuclear fallout.
So a tactical nuclear weapon, Karthik, is about between zero point 0.5 to 1 kiloton, used against mechanized forces of the enemy in a small area, contained area. But the use of a nuclear weapon changes the battlefield strategically. It might be a tactical weapon. It might be meant for use in a tactical battlefield. But the war itself will change strategically. That's the issue when you use a weapon like this, that it has strategic ramifications on the tactical battlefield. And is it possible then to move backwards from here? This is the second issue. And Russia has almost what, 2,000 such weapons. And like I said, some of her motorized brigades and divisions have tactical nuclear weapons, and they carry those tactical nuclear weapons with them in battle. So this is the issue, Karthik. And one doesn't know whether it's just a drill, whether they are just posturing, or whether they're actually going to use this, and who is going to push them to use it. And if it happens, how do you push back or pull back from a situation like this? Will it result in an all out nuclear war? Will the escalation be so much that there will be mutual destruction between both sides, mutually assured destruction, what we call the mad doctrine?
Or is it General Chauhan that the mentality of the Russian Empire is at play, that the Black Sea, Ukraine, it's a Russian backyard.
Absolutely.
If you look
Absolutely.
at historically,
Which is what Putin has been saying all along.
uh,
It's
it's
my
their
backyard.
it's my
You've got to get
backyard.
out of it. Absolutely.
You know, the West should get out of it. They also treat half of
Absolutely.
Finland to be their backyard. They treat half
Absolutely.
of the Eastern Europe, parts of it to be their backyard. So, are we saying that the
Absolutely.
Russian imagination of the Western Europe, Central Asia, is at play again? Out of my backyard.
Absolutely. And Putin has been saying this continuously, Karthik. He's been saying it continuously. Get out of my backyard. You have promised me that you would not go further uh, in 1993. After that, you've broken every possible promise to expand NATO. But this was the red line. And once you reached here, I've reached my red line. So that's the issue. Can he use a tactical nuclear weapon on the tactical battlefield, which has huge strategic ramifications. It will totally change the way we think. Nuclear weapons, can they be used on the battlefield, is something that we have to be extremely careful about, because they can be escalation very quickly out.
Absolutely. Absolutely, General Chauhan. Thank you so much for joining me.
Because the issue,
Yeah,
one more thing is,
tell me.
can the US give tactical nuclear weapons as a retaliation to Ukraine? They
I,
won't.
if you ask me, I don't think Ukrainians are going to get anything than moral support now from the Americans. And you were pretty right, a year ago when you told me that do not underestimate Russians. They will just move on and on and on.
On
And you have
absolutely,
and you have
absolutely,
turned out to be pretty bang on this issue, that they have not allowed this
absolutely,
to turn into another
absolutely,
Afghanistan. They have not allowed this
absolutely,
to turn into another Afghanistan, and they're just moving
absolutely,
on, and people forget the Munich Accord, where Baker actually convinced the Russians that if they allow certain changes in the Eastern Europe, the
yes.
Russia would benefit. And the West never kept a word of the Munich consensus, and now we have a Ukraine. Thank you so much.